already so powerful, yet we can take that a step further and do this. $540 million! But wait, there's more. What's good, folks? It's Nightmare Frame here with a new Warframe video coming at you with one of the most disgusting synergies. Using the Sporothrix with its new augment and Citrine to devastate steel path and even level cap enemies. This is the Sporothrix. It is a sniper that has 2 damage instances. It's direct damage and an AoE. Yes, it's a sniper that deals AoE damage, similar to the Comorex. You can easily obtain this weapon by doing isovolts on Deimos. Taking a look at the stats, you have 1% crit chance, not that great. However, a 3 times critical damage multiplier, but it's amazingly good for Warframes that have self-crit buffs, or if you're using Arcane Avenger. Here's another thing, it has very high status chance, slash, and on its radial attack, proc, slash, and viral, which is insanely good. So if I shoot this weapon, notice I'm getting slash procs, and when it detonates, I get viral. So it's its own primer, and you don't even need hunter munitions, even with a crit build. And snipers have a unique damage scaling, and that is through its combo system. When you aim down sights, you will have some parameters. On the right side, just above me, you can see it has a headshot damage multiplier, meaning bonus damage to the headshots. And of course, it tells you the distance from the target. But notice when I start shooting, there's something there called shot combo. This is a unique trait to all snipers, where it gives you a final damage multiplier to your shots. So the more you build up combo, the more damage you deal, similar to the old combo system with melees. And to build up your shot combo even faster, prioritize multi-shot and fire rate. These are the 2 main things that can help you build up combo faster. And what made this sniper even better is that Nightwave brought an augment for it called Volatile Variant. Let's read through this. Shots now have 3 meters of punch through. As you can see right there, it increases the explosion radius to 4 meters. Notice how this augment says 4 meters increase, while here we have 1.7, because that explosion radius takes into account after everything is built up, and it is only applied when you hit enemies. For example, if I shoot here near the enemies, I only have that 1 meter. This enemy's not getting hit. But when I target this enemy directly, notice how this target got damaged as well. So that means this explosion radius isn't really worth it with Prime Firestorm, as it takes that 1.7 to 5.7 when you directly hit enemies. And adding Prime Firestorm will only increase it to 6.5, and you're not even going to notice the difference. And that means it's going to save you a mod slot. So now that you know the mechanics of the sniper and the augment, let's take a look at the synergy that we're using for both of my Citrine and sniper builds. Starting off with my first synergy, and that's using the Sporothrix with a status build and the Helminth Expedite Suffering. It'll be a lot easier if I explain how status damage over time works. Every status effect that you apply on an enemy has a duration, and some status effects deal damage over time. So slash, heat, toxin, electricity, gas, all of those deal damage over time. The unique ones are gas and electric, where they are instantaneous damage over time, while the other ones have a 1-second delay. Notice, when I proc a slash status effect, it's going to start dealing its damage over time after a 1-second delay. So first you will see the damage proc, and then the damage over time. See? All these damage instances will keep damaging until its duration is run out. Now, what Expedite Suffering does is that it takes all of those procs that will be dealt and turn it into one singular proc and expedite the damage over time into one single tick and have its damage multiplied. So the damage multiplier scales off strength. It also scales off status duration. And what Warframe increases status duration and your status chance at the same time? Well, Citrine, of course, thanks to Prismatic Gem. And this status chance and status duration scales off strength. So I'm pumping a bunch of strength onto Citrine, and it's also increasing my status duration, which also boosts Expedite Suffering. Casting Prismatic Gem will have all enemies take singular elemental damage over time. Heat, electric, toxin. And of course, you also get cold, but that's not a damage over time. So this works as a primer for me to apply multiple status effects on a target. That's a lot of damage. That guy just disintegrated right there. So you want to prioritize headshot damage, building up your combo, of course, aiming down sights, and boom. The thing that you're going to be noticing here is that I will be using my melee to charge my primary weapon because I'm using primary dexterity. That is going to be my main base damage mod. In Disruption, Merciless isn't that great. And I can't really use primary Deadhead because it's a heavy DOT build. Deadhead needs direct damage kill for it to stack up. So that's why primary dexterity is going to be my main base damage for this weapon. Faction damage is also a huge damage increase since we're dealing with damage over time. My focus school here is going to be Vazarin. And the easiest way to add survivability on this build is to just give yourself Vazarin. With Protective Sling, you're going to have 5 seconds of invulnerability. So you may notice these lines. This is Magus Lockdown. It is an Operator Arcane used to lock down targets. So I just killed enemies right now with my melee, and that gave me my dexterity buff on my primary. All right, let me stack my Galvanize Aptitude buff. I just kill a bunch of enemies right here real quick. Keep my dexterity buff topped up. I have energy drain right at the beginning. So lock them down, cast your prism on the side, couple of headshots, boom. Lock them down, cast it here. We have enough range. Boom. One shot. Try to cast this a bit further away from the Demolist because they can nullify it. Okay, we're back in the Orbiter, and let's take a look at the Expedite build. After that, we're going to go over to the other variant. Archon Shards are simple. 2 casting speed and then energy shards. That's it. The Sporothrix build. Very strange, isn't it? Primary dexterity for the base damage when you get kills with your melee. Faction damage mod. Very important if you're doing this kind of content. You want your DOTs to scale, then add the faction damage mod. I don't need to add shred because the augment itself gives me 3 meters of punch through. I have prime fast hands and prime magazine warp, increasing my magazine size and my reload speed. Galvanize Aptitude for even more damage and direct hit, and of course increasing my status chance yet again. Over here I have Vigilante Supplies, just for the ammo mutation. If you have Prime Sniper ammo mutation, that's even better, because this isn't a crit build. This is also pretty decent because when you get a random crit, it's going to be multiplied thanks to that critical multiplier. Now that you know how the weapon is modded, let's take a look at Citrine. So I have 2 conditional strength increases from Growing Power and Molt Augmented. This requires status effects to be procced on enemies, easily done with the Sniper, and the Arcane, you just need to get 250 kills. And the modded strength comes from Blind Rage and Umbra Intensify. All of this is to increase Prismatic Gem's status duration, status chance, and Expedite Suffering's damage multiplier. Vig Swap, perform a quick weapon swap. This gives you 165% base damage on your shots. Very useful for just a little damage boost, especially when that Dexterity Arcane suddenly loses 1 stack. It can happen. Equilibrium and Archon Stretch are going to be my main source of energy income. Equilibrium is easily maintained thanks to her first ability. Killing enemies drops health and energy orbs. On top of that, Archon Stretch is easily triggered thanks to her Prismatic Gem. Range is really important for Prismatic Gem and Expedite Suffering because you need to have some distance from the Demolist. And finally, Arcane Momentum. This is for that juicy reload speed. And reading this, you're thinking, hey, this says on critical hit. Your weapon is not built for crits. Well, that's easily done thanks to my melee, which is used to build up my dexterity stacks. As long as I get a crit from any source, it triggers crit conditional arcanes. Speaking of that melee, I'm just using your go-to Glaive Prime. For the Arcane, I have melee exposure. When I cast an ability, I get bonus corrosive damage. Very useful against fodder enemies and acolytes. Crit damage, and corrupt charge for the initial combo. Volatile quick return for the big explosion. Dispatch overdrive for some movement speed. Alright, now let's go check out the other juicy variant. Now the second loadout is for some regular steel path survival or any type of content. But let's be honest, this weapon became one of the most comfortable picks, and it's a sniper nonetheless. Now you know what the augment does. Explosions. What if I can make those explosions explode on themselves and trigger more explosions? Thanks to Xata's Whisper and Prismatic Gem. This combo is disgusting. That was just a touch. Let me quickly build up my Arcane Avenger so I can get some crits. Alright. Critting on enemies. Oh my goodness. Beautiful. You see that? You see that? And here's another little interesting thing. Xata's Whisper also counts as an additional hit, which also helps me build up my sniper combo even faster. Well, Xata's Whisper creates an additional instance of damage as it coats your weapon with the void elemental damage. It does not combine with your elements on your weapon, but it scales with them. It also scales of a percentage of your weapon's damage, and as I said, elemental damage and crit damage, which is coming from Vital Sense and Primary Blights. On Toxin status effect, increase your critical damage and multi-shot, which stacks up to 40 times, and that's easily done thanks to Prismatic Gem. So my base damage can be Serration or Heavy Caliber. It really doesn't matter. And what makes Xata even stronger is that it double dips with faction damage mods. Again, faction damage is very important if you want your damage to scale even further. So let's quickly go into the steel path to show you how this build works. And oh boy, it is something. Taking a look at the Xata Explosions build. Definitely if you love explosions, you should try this out. My sentinel here is Cordon, because that's all he's known for. He's going to do some of that radial sucking, which of course will have my gas damage over time scale, since it's quadratic scaling. More enemies clumped up, the more damage. And my focus skill is Matterite for that juicy sling strength, which I'm going to use to snapshot into my Xata's Whisper and Prismatic Gem. So 2 Void Slings, cast my second ability. Let's go to a nice group of enemies. Oh, this is perfect. Cast my 3, Xata. Already. Oh, this is disgusting. Who thought this was a good idea? I did. Yes. And the great thing about the Sporothrix is that it's very ammo efficient. These are steel path enemies dying to one shot. Look at that damage. And we're just chilling. In the previous version of this build, I did replace the second ability instead of the fourth because I thought maybe, hey, I could use the fourth against acolytes. But then I realized that was only beneficial against violence. So it's up to you how you want to play it. Keeping the second ability is very good for, like, you know, casual and chill players who don't want to go the extra mile, you know, dodging, doing all this extra stuff. All you have to do is just be tanky. Have the second ability and adaptation and you're chilling. Alright. Let's lock this guy down. And they're dead. This is the downside with this loadout if you're fighting against Thrax, is the cold procs are just going to slow them down even further. I don't know why. Alright, also have a look. I'm at 4.5 times the combo. That's insane damage increase. One shot. Oh, that's beautiful. This dude stole my weapon again. All right, we're back in the orbiter taking a look at the Xata Citrine build. You already know the sniper build and the build, a bit similar to the first one. But in the aura, I have combat discipline. This is easily maintained with Citrine because of her passive, as it gives her healing over time. And she can easily sustain herself with energy and health with her first ability. And the reason I'm using this aura is only to trigger Arcane Avenger, which gives me a flat crit chance increase on all of my weapons. So that 1% turns into a 46%. But thanks to the Vigilante set bonus, I can go up a critical tier. Range is a bit higher here, thanks to Archon Stretch and Augur Reach. Adaptation for some damage reduction, very easily done for base Steel Path, especially if you pair it up with her second ability. Duration is a bit on the high end with Prime Continuity and Constitution, because I want my Prismatic Gem and Xanta's Whisper to last a bit longer. And finally, Arcane Momentum for that reload speed. You need this. If you're using snipers, you definitely need this. Snipers are notorious for having annoying reload speed and not a great magazine. These were two fun setups. You should definitely try them out. This is what happens when you give Citrine a disgustingly strong sniper setup. Anyway, folks, that has been it for me. I do hope you enjoyed this video and learned something from it. If you did, please feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more Warframe content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, a peace. Bye-bye now.